so today I'm coming to you with my April and May wrap up. I apologize in advance if this video is really late. I'm filming it about a week into June, but I'm pretty sure that this video is not going to get up until the end of June just because of my exams and everything. I don't finish exams until the 23rd of June. If this is really late, I sincerely apologize, but I promise during the summer I'm gonna find time to do more YouTube videos, be consistent because I miss it. I really miss doing it. Occasionally I'll go back and watch a video from like when I first started BookTube when I was so enthusiastic about it, and I still am, but I feel like half the time I'm just dead, so it doesn't come across that way. So yeah, if you weren't sure, I am very enthusiastic about BookTube, about doing what I'm doing. I just don't have the time. So yeah, hopefully in summer we'll be able to sort a system out and I'll be able to get shit done. That's what I'm hoping for. During the month of April, I read 3 books, which is not very good, but what are you gonna do? As I said, exams. So the first book that I read in the month of April was The Upside of Undone by Becky Albertalli. I received a free e-copy of this book from netgalley.com in exchange for an honest review, which I did a spoiler-free review, which I shall link down below in case you want to go check it out. I gave that book a 4.75 out of 5 stars. I adored it. I thought it was so cute, and it had a whole bunch of diversity in it. We had Jewish people, we had people of color, there were loads of different people of different sexualities in there. It was just great in terms of diversity. I thought it was really great. But if you don't know what this book is about a girl called Molly who has had crushes on a whole bunch of guys, but she's never actually acted on them or dated anyone. She's never had a problem with this until her twin sister Cassie starts dating this new girl called Mina, and Molly is introduced to Mina's friend Will, and there's sort of like something could be happening there, but then she's got this co-worker called Reed, and it's just like all of that playing out, and it's wonderful. I thought it was so cute and very relatable as someone who has not dated anyone in their entire lifetime. It was relatable in that aspect, so yeah. Moving swiftly on. We don't need to talk about how single I am because it's just gonna depress us all. The next book that I read was Goodbye Days by Jeff Zentner. This was another book that I received from NetGalley in exchange for an honest review, and I actually only did a written review just because I didn't have time to film and edit a video, but I do have a written review up on Goodreads and my blog. I'll link it down below in case you want to go check it out. But that goes into all the spoiler-free details of why I wasn't the biggest fan of this book. So I only gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. So I didn't hate it by any means, but it just wasn't my favorite thing. This book is about a boy called Carver whose 3 best friends die in a car accident, and he was actually sort of the reason why they crashed. It was because he sent a text to his friend who was driving, and then they had an accident because his friend was looking at his phone. So really it's the driver's fault. It goes into the aftermath of this, him dealing with it, the family's dealing with it, and how they're gonna get over this. And it was really, really good. It had good representation of anxiety, I thought, and panic attacks. And I think it would be really probably helpful for someone who's grieving. I'm not grieving, so I couldn't find it relatable, especially because I've never been grieving before. I really liked the writing of this book and I liked the concept, but I didn't love the characters. I thought they weren't very relatable, and I did find that the story wasn't the most interesting thing in the world, so that's why I only gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. The final book that I read in April was 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. I listened to this on audiobook. I do actually own a physical copy, but it's in storage, so after watching the first 2 episodes of the TV show, I was like, damn, I need to read this book because I can't watch the TV show at the moment, so I downloaded it on Audible and I really, really liked it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, probably more of a 4.5. It's definitely a problematic book. I think everyone can agree that it has problems. It's not a very good representation of mental illness or anything like that. It's not really spoken about. It's more just about this girl's suicide. It's all very emotional, and it definitely has that sort of revenge, blame sort of theme to it, which just isn't a very good message. And so for that reason, it's not a great book, and that's why I only gave 4.5. But I did really enjoy it. It's hard to talk about. I don't like saying I enjoyed it because it's like such a difficult topic. You don't really enjoy something like that, but I don't know if you know what I mean. But it was a good book. I liked it. So yeah, that was the last book I read in April. In May I read 6 books, which is just not good, seeing as I have exams. I should not have read that many books. I don't know how I did it. Actually, I do. A lot of that was in my commuting time because I had to get a train to school for an hour and a half every day and then an hour and a half home. So I did a lot of reading on the train, lots of audiobooks, and that's really how I got a lot of books done during the month. So the first book that I finished in the month of May was Middletown by Kristen Simmons. This book came in the Fairy Loot box for October, and I was really excited to read it. It's a steampunk dystopian book. I was like, you know, I'm not that into dystopian anymore. I kind of find it to be repetitive. I'm sure this will be different. I'm sure. It wasn't. It wasn't different whatsoever. There was a love triangle in this book. It was, you know, it was pretty much like every other dystopian book I've ever read, and I didn't like it very much at all because there was one trope which happened in a very big popular book series, but I'm not going to say what it is because that's a spoiler. If you want to narrow it down to what dystopian series it is, then go ahead and do that, but it was one of the big dystopian series. Ends in a certain way, and this book ended in that way, and it just pissed me off so much. I just think dystopian is not really for me, or not at the moment at least, or not this type of dystopian. It just wasn't for me. I only gave it a 1 out of 5 stars, which is so terrible, I know, and I'm sorry. The next book that I read was a book that I listened to on audio, and that was Almost Adulting by Arden Rose. Arden Rose is a YouTuber, and I've been watching her channel for years. So when I found out she was writing a book, I was so excited to read it. I had it on pre-order, and I was gonna actually get the physical book, but then I remembered that Audible exists, and I was like, why would I do that when I could actually listen to her reading the book to me? So I did that instead. I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is really sort of like her sort of tips to being an adult, but it's not really. It's kind of just jokey, but she does talk about some really interesting things in it, and if you like Arden, I would definitely suggest it. If you like memoirs, maybe even YouTuber memoirs specifically, I don't know if there are people out there who do, but if you do like YouTuber memoirs, I'd suggest hers. It's not my favorite, but I've only read 3. My favorite is Connor Franta's A Work in Progress. I really want to read his book Note to Self, but I have no money, so I can't buy his new book yet. The next book that I read was Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. I already spoke about this briefly in the haul, so I've already explained what it's all about, but in case you don't know, it's about this boy called Simon who's gay, but he's not out yet, so he doesn't want anyone to know, and he's emailing with this boy called Blue, and they kind of start an online relationship, but they don't actually know the identity of the other person that they're talking to. And one day this boy takes screenshots of the emails when Simon forgets to log out and blackmails Simon with these emails. That aspect's not so nice, but the rest of it is adorable. It's got some good diversity in it, which is great. I don't want to talk too much about it. It's becoming a film, which is amazing. I can't wait to see it because I think they can do it justice. I actually preferred The Upside of Unrequited a little bit, so I only give this one 4.5 out of 5 stars, but that's still pretty good. The next book that I read was another one that I listened to the audiobook for, and that was Days of Blood and Starlight by Laini Taylor. I started this book ages ago, probably in March I started this book, and this one was not my favorite. I feel like listening to it on audio over such a long period of time meant that I got really confused, and some of the characters were a bit annoying in this book. If you don't know, this is the sequel to The Daughter of Smoke and Bone. The Daughter of Smoke and Bone is about, I don't really know how to describe it, and I'm at the point where I've read the second book that I feel like talking about it would spoil it, but I will link the Goodreads page down below if you want to go and find out what it's about, because I can't explain this plot. It's just so weird and different, so I'm not going to explain it, but I'm sorry about that. So yeah, I only gave Days of Blood and Starlight 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read was Everything by Nicola Yoon. I wanted to read it before the film came out because I thought that the film came out everywhere on the same day. So I read this all really quickly. I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. But yeah, I read it really quickly so that I could watch the film, and then I realized that the film doesn't come out till August in England, so I won't be able to watch it for a while. If you don't know what Everything is about, which I'm positive you do, but Everything is about this girl called Maddie who is allergic to pretty much everything. So she doesn't go outside. She's never been outside since she was a baby. That's all been fine until this new boy moves in next door, and then romance sort of sparks between them and things happen from that point onwards. I really enjoyed this book. Some of the things that happen in this book are a little bit unrealistic, and there is a bit of insta-love, which is why I knocked it down by a star, but I still really enjoyed it. I love the fact that there are like pictures and stuff in it because I didn't know that, and when I read it and I saw that it was mixed media, I was so excited because it just makes books go by way faster. The final book that I read in the month of May is an unpopular opinion, so I don't want to talk about it, but I have to. So the last book that I read in May was Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I've heard everybody, everyone, ever rave about this book. I heard people recommending the audiobook, so I got the audiobook. My neighbor actually lent me this book. Everyone said it was wonderful. I had not seen a single bad review, ever. So I was really excited. I started reading it, couldn't get into it, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get the audiobook. I'm sure the audiobook will be better. Got the audiobook, and it was a waste of my time. I shouldn't have read it. I should have DNF'd it. I did not like this book. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars because I liked the premise, but it was just so bogged down in information. There was just so much info dumping, and I was just so sick of it by the end of this book that I wanted to rip it in half. This book is not my thing. Don't know if you could tell by that, but please don't hate me. This is my own opinion. I'm allowed to have it. I'm sorry if this is your favorite book of all time. This just wasn't for me, and I really wish it had been because I thought I would love it. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars, probably more of a 1.5. Wasn't my thing. So these were all the books that I read in the months of April and May. If you've read any of these, please let me know your thoughts on them down below. I was gonna say that's all for today's video, but I do have to check in on my TBR Jar Challenges. My April April TBR challenge was to listen to an audiobook, and I completed that by listening to 13 Reasons Why. My May TBR Jar Challenge, which I didn't show you because I didn't do a wrap up for April separately, was to read a book that came out in 2017, and I completed that challenge by listening to Almost Adulting, so that completed that challenge. And I'm actually completely up to date with my TBR Jar challenges because I was only behind on one, which was my February challenge, or January, I can't remember, but my February or January challenge was to read a steampunk novel, and I finally completed that by reading Metaltown by Kristen Simmons. So it was good for one thing, but only that one thing. I did actually originally film an April wrap up where I chose TBR Jar challenges for May and June, so I already have my June challenge already chosen out of the jar. So my June challenge was to read a book that was written by an author from a country you've never visited before. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to read for this, but I have a few options. For example, I have The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon, who was born in Jamaica, which I actually never went to go visit Jamaica, despite the fact that I lived in the Caribbean for 11 years, but I've never been to Jamaica. Another one that I could read is The Book Thief by Marcus Cusack, because he's from Australia and I've never been there. On that same note, I could read Nevernight by Jay Kristoff, which I've heard amazing things about because he's also from Australia. So we shall see in my June wrap up. Don't forget that my giveaway is still open, so if you want to go and enter that, I will link it in the card and down below so you can go and enter that. It's really easy to enter, but all the rules are in that video. So yeah, that's gonna be all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe down below. I upload new videos on Thursdays, maybe. So I will see you very soon with another video. Bye!